Hello, hello, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. This is going to be video 757. It's probably going to be very, very short. It's kind of late at night on Saturday, January 10th. Want to make a quick video because I had kind of a weird thought. Kind of weird, just a weird thought. You know, part of this last year has been so hard. I made a video a little bit. I think the last video was about the 4th of July. And, you know, kind of someone had posted a comic strip about, you can still be patriotic about the United States and admit that it has some work that needs to be done. You can still be patriotic like Colin Kaepernick, I believe, was the football player who took a knee at the national anthem. You can still be patriotic and protest. You know, you can still show support for your nation, but some protesting. And this kind of is going to kind of come along those lines of thoughts. What can be done as far as the future goes. And I think I see a lot of um, not necessarily rhetoric right now, but on different Facebook, there's a lot of anti-Republican thought, for lack of a better word, uh, because right now it seems like the Republican Party has just doubled down on being supporting Trump, which blows my mind. I've never seen. Here we are, um, almost a year after the president. We had the presidential election, and we're still talking about the loser of the election. The loser has some sort of control or power. I've never seen in my lifetime the loser of the election held power. When Al Gore lost to Bush, I mean, that was probably the closest we will have, of being, a contested election. You know, Al Gore realized he couldn't win and he conceded. And nobody went back to Al Gore 6 months later and said, okay, Al, you're the future of the Democratic Party, blah, 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 blah. It's never happened in my lifetime until Trump came along because he's a sore loser, apparently. And people kind of like his, his, I don't know what they like. I don't get it. I don't understand other than people who don't want to see things change. That I understand. If you are against gay people or trans, this channel being trans, uh, you know, you deliberately would support someone who would not, who would maintain the status quo that your grandparents grew up in because that's what you like. And so you don't want to see gay people getting married or something. You know what I mean? It's like that I understand. People who don't want to evolve into the society where they're at. But I think it's very, deceptive as to kind of the real world. You can only live in a microcosm, in your own bubble so much, and I don't know. I don't know. Let's not go there. But kind of what my thought is that, eh, I had this thought the other day that instead of making it a unfortunately, in the United States, we only have Democrats and Republicans. Yes, you have independents and you have the Green Party and all these other things, but uh, for our system is so built up on a dual party system. But I'm wondering if maybe going forward, instead of saying Republicans, blah, 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 you know, to maybe start to say, put an adjective in front of the noun, okay? Fascist Republicans, bigoted Republicans. In other words, you're addressing people who happen to be white supremacists who claim who uh, have the Republican on their voter registration card. In other words, I think we kind of, if we want to advance an agenda of acceptance and normalization, let's say, of being transgender or trans youth, I don't think we're going to get very far if we continue if we take up this, you know, it has to be Democrat or nothing. I think if we can, there are people that are Republican because their parents were Republicans and their grandparents were Republicans and they were raised in a, Republican household. And I think instead of assuming that all Republicans are a certain way, again, I think it's to start to and instead of using that as a label, we need to call what the problem is, identify, it's not Republicans that are the problem. It's bigoted Republicans. It's fascist Republicans. It's xenophobic and homophobic Republicans. That is the problem. It's not Republicans in general. Now, yes, as long as the people at the helm of the Republican Party, as long as they continue to embrace this Trump centric, xenophobic, narcissistic, fascist view of the world, then yes, it is a problem. And by its very nature, being a conservative in general, you want you don't want change, and so that again, there's some ideological differences, but I think going forward, I think we would win more battles in the hearts and minds of our friends and whatnot if we didn't use such a generalized term as Republicans. We need to start to say Republicans that are racists, Republicans that are, xenophobic, Republicans that are fascists, you know, and start to put the problem first and then the label. I think that will gain more traction. And again, I can't. When I go back to when I was a younger person, much younger, and I hate to go back to like Reagan, and that's if you know some shit on some dirt on Reagan, you're gonna be Reagan, kind of like going back to Bloom County, the comic strip, when Reagan got elected. Ronald Reagan's fault. I honestly don't know much bad shit about Reagan, but and I was lived in the '80s. Imagine there probably is some crap about Reaganomics and whatnot. But like I said, I think if we start to address the behavior, you know, and I just posted on a Facebook, someone had posted about Hobby Lobby and Christians, and some Christians were like, well, what's wrong with Christians? What do you mean, Christianity? And my responsive back was, I don't have a problem with Christians. I have a problem with racists, bigots, and fascists uh, who use Christianity as a vehicle to justify their racism, their being bigoted and being fascists. That's what I have problems with. And so by calling the again by stating what I have a problem with and then saying I also have a problem with Christians who assume that the United States is a Christian nation and therefore they're being patriotic if other Americans are Christian because that's America is Christian. You know, that is my big beef with it as well. That Christians just assume that the United States and Christianity goes hand in hand when, you know, you look back at the founding fathers, they were deists. They were not Christians. Probably some of them were. I mean, and again, we can't really make a blanket statement like that, but you look at the writing of, the writings of Thomas Jefferson and whatnot, and Benjamin Franklin. They were not Christians. You know, they had a very God is has a hands-off approach. And back to the idea of what I have problems with Christians is, again, they assume that their way is the only way, that their way is the right way, and totally ignoring Muslims and Buddhists and, other religions. And like I said, just the assumption that, you know, Christianity is the only way to go. And again, people using that as an excuse to, you know, deny the rights of certain individuals, to deny the existence, and to be a bully, for lack of a better word. um, People, Christians, bullying and using that as justification, that somehow if their beliefs are not respected, that it's somehow anti-American, and that it's an infringement on their beliefs, but yet they're perfectly willing to infringe on other people's beliefs because the other people's beliefs don't matter. They're not American. Do you see what I'm saying? So again, I think going forward, this is what I'm going to do is I'm not going to use the noun. I'm going to use the adjective and say, this is the behavior, you know, uh, and I think I've heard this before when marriage counseling, you don't get upset at the person, you describe the behavior that you don't like. Instead of saying, you're a lazy SOB, I hate your guts, you're worthless. The marriage counselor would say, well, instead say, so and so, on the occasion that you decide not to clean up after yourself and I have to clean up after you, I find myself getting aggravated, which I realize, doesn't make much sense when you're hot and heavy. But if you can address the behavior, then that's one step closer to, the other person can change their behavior. And back to the idea of the political party, if you start off by saying these Republicans, um, all that's going to do is cause the defensive walls to come up. As justifiably as you might be, uh, it's not going to change any hearts and minds. It's just going to get people defensive. But I think if we say, I have a problem with people that are racists, you know, and it just seems like the Republican Party is just embracing being racist right now. Do you feel like how do you feel? And maybe handle it on a case by case basis. Unfortunately, in the last election, in the last cycle, we just saw again the leader of the movement would be Donald Trump. And to this day, it just seems like the Republican Party is, again, they're not looking at it and saying, you know, what can we do differently next time? How can we win? What can we change about ourselves that, instead of doing that, what the Republicans, it seems like the leadership of the Republican Party and the legislatures and whatnot, instead of saying what can we change to make ourselves better, they're saying what can we do to rig the system so that we win next time. You know, they're kind of doing exactly what they're claiming happened to them. They're decreasing the amount of people that can vote. They're gerrymandering districts, and I'll give you an example here in Louisville. Because of the census data, there's enough to split the Louisville district into 3 districts based on population size. Okay, and the current House guy is John Yarmouth. God bless his soul. Um, and he's Democrat. Okay, So the Republicans in the Senate that are redrawing the districts, it was in the news this week, they decided instead of splitting it up into three, they would just keep it one island of blue of Democrat. Because if they split it up into three, then that shifts the number of, we might have to elect a senator from this area, which probably would be a Democrat, especially over Breonna Taylor in the last year. So again, it's that kind of gerrymandering and political manipulation that they're doing right now. And not to say it wouldn't be different if the tables were turned, you know, but to me, it's an abuse of power no matter who you are, if that's what you're doing. And, that's the type of thing that I think, again, I don't know why I'm grabbing this rope. Um, grab something else. Here's a battery. Here's a battery. I'll grab the battery. I don't know why they're not looking at it and saying, okay, how can we make ourselves better? Is there something wrong with us? What do we need to change? Instead, they're saying, how can we rig the next election? Which is just so weird. It's like a self fulfilling prophecy. And my hope is that no matter what they do, uh, you know, I keep saying we like we're on a conspiracy or something, but my hope is that people who care about voting and whatnot, they'll work together and if the Republican state legislature, decrease the hours from 16 hours to 12 hours voting, my hope is people will mobilize and say, okay, we need to get out now in that 12-hour window. My hope is that the efforts of the Republican state legislatures to restrict voting and deny access to voting will fall flat on its face because people will be empowered to vote during whatever time slot they have. Again, it just depends on what they do and how they restrict the voting. But my hope is they'll fall flat on their face. Usually, what happens in a midterm election, people don't turn out as much as during a presidential because they think their guy is in the White House, their guy or gal. And so, in this case, Democrats might not turn out as much because they say, oh, well, we won the White House. But what that does is that allows the other party to pick up seats in the midterms, and so then you have a Congress or a Senate you have a Congress that's not able to get anything done, and then they kick the president out. You know what I mean? It's like just kind of politics. Um, but anyway, that's not what this video is about. It's about putting the adjective before the noun, to specify what that behavior is, and what I hope that does, because I made mention of this last time too. I think for us trans folk, the next big problem is the religious people saying, well, I would vote for the Equality Act, but members of my constituents feel their religious rights are being tread upon, or their religious freedom, or it goes against their Second Amendment or First Amendment rights or something, freedom of religion. And I think we really need to deflate that and say, well, how does it infringe upon your religion? Are you being denied going to church? Well, no. Are you being denied praying to God or as you see God? Well, no. So how is it denying your religion? And at that point, it really just becomes bullying. So I think we need to again say that it's not Christians. It's people bullying me using Christianity as an excuse. I don't like the white racism that seems to be built inside of this church. I don't, and again, as a Catholic, I can tell you, I don't like the misogyny, anti-woman in Christianity too. But you know, address the behavior you want to change before the label. I think that's kind of maybe the gist of what I'm trying to do. And I apologize if I didn't get to this point quick enough. But anyway, that's it. And I wish you the best of luck. Sorry, I'm getting a little dry throat. Excuse me. I wish you the best of luck in your pursuit of becoming who you want to be as you define it. And I will, bye bye.